Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is so good to have you here today. I'm delighted to bring you a student from my ServiceNow training cohort, Holly Ryder. And Holly is going to showcase one of the apps that she built for her capstone project. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Holly Ryder. Holly, say hello to the audience.
Hi, everybody.
And why don't you give them a quick introduction to who you are?
I am a wife of 20 years. I have 4 kids, and I started my ServiceNow journey almost 2 years ago. I have been a platform administrator for a church for 9 years, and I didn't realize that this could actually be a career. And then a friend of mine who is a super awesome architect at GlideFast started talking about what they did, and I started realizing that there was something that I could actually have an interest in and actually start doing. And so I started Googling things and found Chuck Tomasi. And I was like, this sunshine of a human. And I was like, okay, this could actually be really fun. Paid my fee to do CSA, and I found that one came really intuitively because of some of the experience that I had already had before with the Elevanto, which is like a platform that kind of looked a little bit similar to ServiceNow at the time. And as I started going deeper into studying for my CSA, my daughter is also doing her Bachelor of Computer Science with a specialization in video game production and development. So she's talking about coding, and she's talking about JavaScript and Python and all that. And so she's like, Mama, you could do this. And so I went on Code Academy and started doing a little bit of JavaScript. And it wasn't easy, but it was interesting. And then I rediscovered Chuck and his awesome YouTube
Nice.
series. That helped me to get my CAD. But then I was starting to apply, and I realized I knew how to do things, but I didn't know how to just come up with everything on my own. I didn't know how to, I guess, go deeper into the knowledge that I had and practice it.
Mhm.
And then my friend recommended Holly Alexander, and I watched a couple of her videos and I'm like, oh, wait, okay, this is cool. And then she mentioned you. She had messaged you or whatever, and you had recommended What to Build from CJ and the Duke. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, I don't know what I think that I know. And that's where I started listening. Every morning I was listening to CJ and the Duke. It's like, there's so much here, and this is like huge. I didn't realize that there was so much to it.
So you
Um,
actually got your CSA and your
yep,
CAD. By the way, where are you
yep.
based?
I'm in Canada, Summerside,
Oh, okay.
Canada.
All right. So Canadian partners, there you have it. So you got
Mhm.
your CSA and your CAD all on your own power. Then you started your journey into, okay, let's actually get building with this thing, right?
Yes.
And so
Yep.
is that basically what was happening in the coaching sessions was you
Yep.
were learning and then building what we were applying and the things. And then what you get is your capstone project. And that's what we're going to talk about today, right?
Yep. I decided to do an application for a used car dealership. My husband, he's a sales manager at one. You had recommended that we do something we knew about. I used to be a makeup artist, and I was going to lean into that a little bit. And then I realized I wanted to challenge myself a little bit further because using ServiceNow, well, you're going to be working with a lot of different companies that you might not know very much about. And I wanted to challenge myself a little bit to learn about a process that I didn't actually have any knowledge of, but also that I could lean on my husband a little bit for some information.
So you adopted the business analyst role along with
Yes,
learning how to build on the platform. What was that like?
really challenging at first because it's a new language. And I'm good at making small talk, and like I was in business for over 10 years doing weddings and events. So I'm used to being able to make people feel comfortable, but I need to know information. And sometimes it's not information that they readily think that I'm going to need to build something that they need to be able to use. And so it was learning to ask those questions of like, what are these pain points? And if you could have something that gave you the information at your fingertips, what would that look like for you?
As you started learning about your husband's experience with work and then trying to model that in service now, how did you keep track of it all so that you could actually execute the build.
You had been teaching us about solution abstracts, and I'm a big documentation junkie. So
Yay! Our first one.
I like my facts. I like to have everything in my lists. I write everything down or I type it out on the side. Like I've adopted one of the things you did too, where you've got notepad up in the side making your notes. Yeah, that's my jam. So I created a dealer abstract, I guess. I can share it with you now.
So walk us through some of the sections here, Holly.
Okay, so very first is we're going to have our outcome and what you're looking for a dealership. You want to know what inventory you have. You want to have your inventory updated, the vehicles removed after sale, but not removed from the actual program because, of course, vehicles break, so they have to come in for service. You want to know vehicles, especially for a used car dealership, are acquired in a few different ways. So you want to make sure that they are reconditioned and ready for sale. But you also don't want to have somebody doing all of that manually. So we have the logic built in to do so automatically.
Why did you start with the outcomes?
You need to know what you need before you can start building it. You need to have a goal.
All right, so tell us what else you got here.
Here's my data structure. We have a few different tables because you have to start with your tables before you can start building out your logic and everything. So I've got my vehicle model table, which has the make and model. And then we have some unified name because, of course, whenever we're talking about a car, you're not saying, hey, I want that Toyota. You're saying you want that 2024 RAV4 hybrid or the
Okay.
Toyota hybrid kind of thing. So
So
picture,
it
of
brings it
course,
all. It brings the make, the model, and the
yep,
year all together in one
all
name.
together. And that's a business rule running in the background. And then, of course, a picture.
Okay.
We've got the vendor table just to make it easier to select. So, you know, your BMWs, your Toyotas,
Mm-hmm.
and the logo, because a lot of people, when they're first doing something, they don't necessarily know what brand it is. They just
Right.
know, oh, those three circles. Now, bread and butter, which is the vehicle, which has the VIN, which is always unique. And then just a nice breakdown of some of the things that are always going to be specific to your vehicles and also the status. Is it in contention? Is it in the service bay? Is it being detailed? Because you always want to know where your vehicles are.
Mm-hmm. And what does contention mean as a status on a vehicle?
Contention means, say you either have a car that you've had for sale, you've gone through the process and the financing just hasn't worked, then sometimes the sale can end, or sometimes it can be in contention because you also have another salesperson that's like, I've got a buyer for that car. So sometimes you can have the process working where there's one vehicle, but there's two people who want it. That'll put it in contention. So then they can work out kind of the details behind the scenes of whether or not did somebody already put a deposit down on it, or did
Mm.
they, you know what I mean?
So it's
Those
like
things
two
run
like
smoothly.
competing parties on a single car
Exactly.
sale. Okay,
Yep,
cool.
exactly.
So you structured out all the data structure. I see you've got like kind of the field name plus what
hmm
type it is. That's
hmm
pretty cool. You also annotate what extends task. What else
hmm
do you have after the data structure?
Got my assignment groups. So you got your F&I, which is your financing. You've
Hmm.
got your sales and marketing, got your service department, and also kind of a subsection of your service department, which is your detailers. They are the people who are cleaning and moving things around your lot, but they're
Okay.
not necessarily mechanic. And then we move to our roles. So you've got your cardman who has administrative control over everything. And then also you have the different sections of people who need,
Your CRUD rights on the different tables that you have
yes,
built, and you just kind of brute force this, copied
yep,
all the tables, and then you decided what
yep,
they need for read, write, etc. I can read it.
yes.
And then after, okay, now you have business logic. Tell us a little bit about how you structured your business logic.
I wanted to make sure that if this was me or if it was somebody else who is using this, knew what was going to be required to, like, for example, keep a VIN field unique. You're going to want your business rule that's constantly searching your records to make sure that is never duplicated, because that's how you keep your vehicles unique. Also had to override a dictionary reference on some of the tables to be able to use those assignment groups to make sure that only the people who are in those assigned groups could be assigned to the different tasks. And then I've got different flows, keeping control of the vehicles. That way, everything is kind of running in the background and you're not having to do everything manually.
Mhm.
I have notifications that are being sent, and I used your trick that you taught us about putting a hyperlink directly to the task so that you can click on it, then you can you're taken right to the record, which is awesome. And then I have my reporting. This is how you know what's going on. And I also made a couple of dashboards to be able to quickly see some of the reports at your fingertips, and also just some future considerations of other things that might be added in.
What would you say was the best thing that you learned about this process?
Laying everything out like this, if I need to be able to just hand this off at a moment's notice, that other people could pick it up if they had to. And it makes you think, why do I need this table? And do I need a many to many table, or should I be extending a table? Like I just found it really helped me think through the processes that I was going to need before I started building.
Mhm. All right, Canadian partners. So there you see, you have a resource that can go in front of stakeholders that they don't know, ask them pertinent questions, gain an understanding of a process she doesn't already know, get it written down so that she can do the development or somebody else can do the development. Very handy skill to have in the ServiceNow world. So we can see that you're good at documenting so far, but how is the actual build? So I'm going to ask you to share your app now. Oh, pictures. I love it when people use picture data types.
I'm a visual person, and being having been part of the beauty industry, it's a thing. Okay, this is my vehicle model table. I start here, a newly acquired vehicle. I enter into the vehicle model table first, and then once we right click and save the form, the vehicle's related list is going to appear, allowing the vehicle specific entry.
Can we see that? Can we just jump into
Yep,
like Toyota RAV4 there?
absolutely. Actually, I'm going to grab it from over here because it's a little quicker.
Okay. Oh, look at
Um,
that. We got styled statuses too. Can you go back for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the vehicle table. This is all of my vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
We styled it so that very quickly you can see, okay, we've got our vehicles that are acquired, which are the ones that we're going to be walking through today. And then you have your one that's in contention, what's being detailed for sale, what's already sold.
We just acquired a 2022 Chevy Silverado.
So let's have a look. Already we've started, we have our information put in. As you can see, some of them fields are mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a flow running in the background that puts the vehicle directly into an assessment, because of course, as soon as a vehicle is acquired, whether through auction, repossession, trade-in, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it needs to be assessed.
So that
We
handles the
start here.
status and the source. Well, while we're here, can you tell me what base price, cost, and price sold tells us?
Yep. So your cost is how much the dealership paid for the vehicle when they brought it in. Like say this one, for example, at auction. So that's your cost. Your base price is what the market value is. That's what they're hoping to get for it. And then your price sold is going to be what the vehicle actually sells for.
Okay. So it's what we bought it for, what we hope to get out of it, and the price
Mhm.
sold, which is going to help us with the financial outcomes that you outlined at the start. So we are in the services assessment
Mhm.
state right now. How do we know that?
We're in, yep. So right down here, as you can see, is service stages assessment, just to be able to show everyone. Once that reaches a stage of complete, and we save our record. Once the service department reaches a state of complete, so it's already done in service, it now automatically creates a task on the details table for the detailers, because they need to be able to clean and recondition the car before, of course, you're going to put it for sale. So the fun thing about my flow that's running in the background for this one is that it's going to wait for our condition to get to done. Save, as you can see,
Oh,
our
I see the
status
status
automatically
switched.
changed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
switched automatically to for sale. Awesome.
Yep. And so as soon as this is done, the status changed to for sale, and a notification is sent to the sales manager letting them know that now there's a new vehicle for sale and here's the details on it, as well as a hyperlink to the vehicle table that
Mhm.
we had seen in the beginning, letting them know that this vehicle is now ready for sale.
So it's
So
serviced and is detailed, and now it's a vehicle that is ready for sale, right?
yep, now it's ready for sale. So we're going to go back to the vehicle table. And now as a salesperson, they
Mhm.
can look at this and say, okay, now I've got all of these vehicles for sale. We're going to grab, say, this 2020 Honda Civic. And as you can see, it's already been detailed and everything.
Mhm.
And we're actually going to start sale with this one. We're going to start a new sale. We're going to sign this just so Alan can make sure that he makes his money. Here, whenever we get to the finance department or the financing, the vehicle will move into a new department because with financing, you need to make sure that all of their ducks are in a row and that they can go through with the planned
Mhm.
purchase of a vehicle. But sometimes, as we know, the person maybe just doesn't have the time or they change their mind or whatever.
Mhm.
And so if a finance task can't be completed and reaches a state of closed incomplete, notification is sent to the assigned salesperson, so for Alan here, letting
Mhm.
them know that the sale can't go forward. And then the car is put back up for sale. But if financing can be complete and reaches a state of closed complete, the state of the sale task is then changed back to in progress. And a notification is sent to the assigned that financing is complete and it allows the sale to continue.
So these are
And we can,
finance tasks that are happening in the background.
yeah, these are finance tasks that you can see in the background.
So let's take a look at some of those states. You have a canceled sale, planned, in progress, in finance,
Mhm.
and then you have the close complete and the close contested.
It can be closed contested too if your financing doesn't go forward, because then that way an email is sent to your salesperson as well, letting them know, okay, this is not going to go forward. And maybe they can come back to it if
Mhm.
they work out some details that they don't have, or they won't. And I have a flow running in the background when you're in finance, whenever it closes complete, then it sends an email letting you know that we're now into the in progress portion and it will change it automatically, or it will close contested. So
Okay.
then the car can be picked again.
So I see you have the base price there. That again is what we want to sell it for.
Hmm.
And then what happens at the end of this sales process?
Assuming finance is gone through, and we're just gonna be really nice here, and we're gonna go and put our 16 in because this is what we've sold it for now already. Even though we're still in progress, you can see what the potential gross margin is and your base variance. So your gross margin is going to be your price sold versus the cost of what you paid for the car. So this is the profit that you're making from it.
Mhm.
And your base variance is the variance between the base price and the price sold, because they were hoping for 14 and you're bringing in your 16. So you've definitely done some good numbers here.
Now,
And we're gonna,
speaking of the numbers, let's get back to the outcomes, which we defined
mhm,
at the
mhm.
start. Why don't you show us kind of like go to the end and let's see those
Okay.
dashboards.
So we're going to look at our sales dashboard, and we love this number.
Uh-huh.
So this is our potential gross margin for the dealership as a whole with the vehicles that we have. We also have a count of vehicles that are available for sale that updates in real time. You have your base price of vehicles available for sale and also your count of vehicles acquired that's updated in real time as well.
Mhm.
And then, of course, we want to track how well our salespeople are doing. So you have your base variance and your gross margin, and they are separate with your salespeople and how well they're doing. As you can see, Allison Gillespie is killing it.
And then they're stacked by something too. Yeah.
Yes, they are stacked by the vehicle model. So you can
Okay.
see, like, for example, how well she's really doing well in her Audis.
Right.
I also have another tab that does your totals over time. So how long vehicles have been for sale, because of course a vehicle sitting on a lot can depreciate.
Mhm.
And then what are the vehicles sold this month, what you've sold this quarter, and also sold this year, and stack by your average price sold.
The dealership can literally like run their finances off this and see how their operations are doing just based off of the data that you have in there. Now, tell me about the like how you got all this automated. We saw a vehicle get acquired. And so what's under the hood?
I will actually go into App Engine Studio, and I have some really pretty flows I'm very, very happy with. So I built most of this app in App Engine Studio and then popped into Studio for some things. For example, here is my flow that updates a vehicle for sale once service and details are complete. And as you can see, I need my documentation, so everything is noted.
Look at that. You got all the, like, every single note on her
Yeah.
flow is documented. It's got a little, it tells you exactly what it's doing. I love it. Okay, so this is updating the vehicle to for sale once service and detail tasks are completed. Awesome. What
Yep.
other flows you got?
Update the vehicle to for sale
Okay.
once the service and detail tasks are complete.
Okay. What was the hardest flow for you to write?
I think this one, because this was the first time where I was trying to do multiple different things. So you're looking up the records, you're trying to create your tasks, and I also wanted my field values to update at the same time. And I found like making sure to create the notifications, because you have to create the notification and then you have to make sure that it's assigned for this, figuring out a wait condition, because I wanted, at first I was missing that part, so it was going through too quickly, and I want it to wait until the detail state is done.
Mm.
I think this
What are
one
you
was
most proud
probably
of in this whole app?
that I built it.
You got all the information for how to build this based off of conversation with your husbands. Have you actually showed your husband the app?
I have. He is dying. He wants this very, very badly. And then we have a friend who is also a stakeholder. And so I was peppering him with some questions. We were at a hockey game,
Mhm.
and he's very interested because this is actually information that they're looking for. And for most dealerships, they're using 3 or 4 different apps and then Excel spreadsheets. And so you don't have your real-time information. You're constantly getting, some things getting lost in translation because you're having to work with people who have to keep updating things instead of things being done automatically for you.
If you take nothing away from this video, I want you to understand what just happened here. You have a ServiceNow novice, self-taught, with a little bit of coaching, goes and finds a use case that the market actually wants, that she knows nothing about. She learns about this and she assembles this app in ServiceNow with what she knows. It's done days, weeks of work
Yeah, days, definitely about a week, probably at the most.
from a self-taught CSA CAD with no field experience. Come on, folks. Canadian partners, what are you waiting for? Get in touch with me, get in touch with Holly if you want to bring Holly onto your team and start smashing some wins. Holly, thanks so much for showing your app off. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.